This is Movers and Shakers, where we interview the upcoming generation of Make It Happen multifamily investors to share their story.
Welcome to the Movers and Shakers podcast. My name is Gino Barbaro, co-founder of Jake Gino, multifamily investor, educator, father, mentor, and I am joined by my co-host Joshua Ryan Rusin, the community director of Jake Gino. Josh, how are you doing today?
Gino, you're missing a little pep in your step this morning, but I'm doing well, and that's understandable after a long quarterly review meeting yesterday. So those are definitely something that are worthwhile and necessary, but they take a lot out of you, man. So how are you?
Well, between the quarterly priority meeting and the topic we're going to be discussing today, we had a manage right boot camp this past weekend. Correct, Josh? We went out there, we toured our properties, and this call, I really want to basically focus on the manage right portion of the academy. We talk about buy right. We talk about finance right. Josh, those are sexy, aren't they? Everyone wants to know how to buy a property, but the name of the game is NOI, net operating income. And how do you drive NOI? By having proper property management, whether you're going out and finding the property management company yourself, doing third party, or you're doing self-management. You need to really focus on that aspect. And that's what we did this past weekend. Did you enjoy your weekend out there, Josh?
Gino, I did enjoy it. I mean, absolutely. And I think that's one thing worth diving into. A lot of people view when you close on a property as a finish line, but I would like to present the counter argument that that's the starting line, because when you buy, that's at a fixed price, right? When you finance, it's at a fixed price, just like the back legs of the wheelbarrow. Now, ultimately, the key to creating success, or the plan that you got to execute that you underwrote that deal with, is honestly the management. And where we're finding the most successful operators right now, are the most efficient operators, are those that have that asset management skill, because they're able to buy deals that may not work for other people. And like you had mentioned, getting everybody together and learning it from people that are doing it at a high level, right? Kind of taking success and ripping off and duplicating, and surrounding yourself with the right network is really key to success. But, I mean, shed a little light, right? What is successful property management? Why is this thing so important? Give us some golden nuggets.
Love that question, Josh. First, let me just start out by, giving a big shout out to a lot of the Jake and Gino students that have closed deals in the past month. We're over 18,000 units, over $1 billion in deals closed to the Jake and Gino community. Fernando, Anna, Brandon, Katerina, Mehdi, Karthik, Tim, Joe Sullivan. You have Nick and Jamie, Gemma. That's just to name a few, Josh. And a lot of them were there this past weekend. And your question is so important, because I'm going to give you my story. When I first started out with Jake, we managed our own properties. We really didn't know what the hell we were doing, to be blunt. We thought property management and asset management were one and the same. I mean, the first epiphany, the first aha moment for me was, property management's here, but you also need asset management. And for me, when you're managing your own properties, you're not looking at yourself as a multifamily entrepreneur. And that's the first thing that you should be doing, is thinking of this as an entrepreneurial venture. And that's what we teach at Jake and Gino, to become a multifamily entrepreneur. And how do you do that? You do that on implementing those systems that we taught this past weekend. A lot of the systems that we talked about had to deal with, how do you find a property management company, or how do you implement those systems yourself? Because you're going to learn those systems. You're either going to implement them yourselves, or you're going to be teaching your property management company how to do that. And we talked a lot with our coaches out there. We had our whole property management team out there. Big shout out to Jen, Shannon, Chelsea, Madison, Haley, all the property managers that are out there. We had our maintenance techs out there walking the properties, showing our students, and actually, what does a turn look like? It's great in theory. Oh, you're spending $3,000 a door, but you know what? What fixtures do you use? What's the paint scheme? What type of appliances? What type of flooring? What type of assets are you buying? And how do you fix the roof? And being able to speak to our maintenance techs and ask these questions is priceless. We're walking students through that process. And, in the classroom one day, on a bus the next day, talking about asset management with Mikey T. Big shout out to Mikey T. He's a great asset manager. He's a CPA. He works on the Rand Partners side. He delivers a tremendous amount of value. What about the word budget? I mean, does anybody know how to set a budget for these properties? Mike does a tremendous job because he asset manages these properties. So we're teaching our students how to create yearly budgets, and how an asset management company, which is you, First and foremost, as the investor, you are the asset manager. How you're working in conjunction, working side by side, not having that conflict with the property management company. You need to work as an asset manager in conjunction. And let me give you another epiphany that I had. Property managers out there, their job is to put butts in seats. They're not really as concerned about the budget as the asset manager is. Sometimes they are, most of the times they're not. So I'm looking at my ceiling fan. My ceiling fan may cost me $180. The asset manager may say to you, I don't know if we need to spend $180. Maybe a $50 ceiling fan will do. And what about that granite that you're putting down at $3,000? Can we resurface that countertop for $150? That's the job as the asset manager. That's why it's crucial that you have a Mikey T out there teaching you how to create that budget. Property management, asset management. Let's delineate between the both of those, Josh.
Boom. Gino, there's some golden nuggets we need to really tease out of that. One is show me your friends and I'll show you your future. When you were mentioning all those students creating success, look, if you hang around 5 people that are millionaires, guess what? You'll probably be in the 6. So it's when you can get around people that are doing what you want at a high level, it helps create success. And the next one is, you're right, there's absolutely 2 ways to learn this, right? When you and Jake first got in it, I mean, look, you had help, you had mentors, but you still made mistakes. And that's the school of hard knocks. And you'll learn your lesson, right? It may take more time and a little bit more money, but you ultimately document them and try not to repeat them. Or there's the school of applied knowledge, right? You find someone who's done it and you rip off and duplicate it. And honestly, I think that's the best way to shortcut success. It's what the most successful people I know have done. You look at guys like the Michael Jordans of the world, right? They had coaches in all aspects, Tom Brady, things like that. Study the highest level of success in any industry and have guides and people helping them. I mean, success leaves clues. Why reinvent the wheel?
And Josh, there's another thing. I spoke to a lot of the students, the majority of students. I had sessions with them. I talked with them. I was on the bus. We had 2 buses going out to these properties. And I had a call past week with Eric. Big shout out to Eric, student. He actually told me on the call, listen, the event was amazing for one reason. It energized me. And I got to meet and network with other students. He's finding partners at these events. He's learning from the property management. He's networking with our team as well. When you go out there, and like Josh said, every 2 months, we're having an event. So you may be going to an event, your energy slacks off a little bit, then you go into another event and you get your butt kicked and you're like, wow, everyone else is doing this. And when you, like Josh says, when you're surrounded by that like-minded energy, something happens, things change, man. Your thoughts become feelings, your feelings become your beliefs turn into actions, and then they become results. So if you have these positive thoughts and you have great feelings, what's going to end up happening? You're going to be taking those positive actions. You're going to be calling those brokers, putting those deals in, finding partners, raising capital. That's all going to end up having positive results at the end. So that was really important. A big shout out to Eric for having a great call this week and discussing all the benefits. And Eric is a high level investor. He's LPing on a ton of deals. He's GPing on deals. And he was just out there trying to, solicit value from the community. And his value is he's partnering up with others and he's learning the asset management side of the business. Now, I think another thing that we really need to talk about that we discussed at the boot camp this past weekend, Josh, was our cadence of accountability. And this is one thing that's really crucial. We teach all of our students. You need to have a cadence of accountability with your company, with your group, and more importantly, with the property management company, whether that's your own company or with a third party. And what do I mean by property cadence of accountability? The first thing Josh had just alluded to, a little less pep in my step. Those quarterly meetings they're a grind, especially when you got to do them over Zoom. Listen, I love Zoom and all, but 5 hours of Zoom can be a little wearing at the end of the day, but we got our stuff done. And, we all need to figure out what our priorities are for the year. We meet as a team, the executives on all of our different teams, whether it's the education company, the property management company, the partners company, we all meet every quarter and we set up each other's priorities. We have priorities for each company. A priority is anything that takes longer than 8 hours to accomplish, right? Then from there, you reverse engineer it and you set up your tasks that you need to hit a priority. So everyone on this call, I challenge you, it is the end of Q2. Get your Q3 priorities in order, because if you can't focus on a target, you're not going to hit it. And listen, Jake and I, we are guilty of this. We take the machine gun approach where we have 30 different priorities, and Josh is laughing. You're going to overwhelm your team. You're not going to accomplish anything, and you're going to feel overwhelmed all the time. set up 3 or 4 or 5 priorities, especially if this is might be your first meeting. What are your 3 or 4 priorities? It may be get one deal in the contract. It may be create a website. It may be create an investor database. Whatever that may be, set them down in paper and start working on them. You have 13 weeks in a quarter to get them done.
Gino, that's such a great point, because what you're talking about right now is working on the business, not getting caught in the business. And it's easy to get lost in that day-to-day grind, and then you end up becoming the business. You own a job. But when you can take that zoomed out look and see where things are going, and make sure they're in alignment with where you want them to go. And first, you have to know where you want things to go. And there's a million things you could do, but doesn't mean you should do them. So you almost have to triage what's going to move the needle and what's activity versus what's accomplishment. And are you taking the right steps in the right order? So these types of business building activities are what differentiates the successful from the ultra successful.
That's a great point, Josh. And, it all goes back to, do you want to be a multifamily entrepreneur? That's why you're investing in multifamily real estate. You have the scalability and the economies of scale. So number one, everyone write that down, quarterly priorities. Number two, which is really important, we have a weekly huddle every week with our executive team. Spend 45 minutes to an hour every week with the executive team on what's going on. We use Rockefeller habits. We outline the Rockefeller habits. We discuss them every week. And on this weekly huddle, we are going through our key metrics, our KPIs, key performance indicators that we're soliciting, that we're drawing out from our quarterly priorities. And we're going through them and revisiting them every week. Now, you might be saying to yourself, I'm by myself. It's just me and Josh in the room right now. And you know what? That's okay, because it was just me and Jake. And I will guarantee you, if you start out when you're small with the end in mind, you'll be able to grow into this. And as you start scaling up and implementing systems, it'll be a lot easier. Because one of the downfalls of most companies is that lack of communication, that lack of transparency, the left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing. Wouldn't it be nice if you get on a call every week with all the executives on the team and discuss what happened the previous week, discuss where you hit your KPIs, discuss where you actually had some shortcomings, we do big shout outs every week. We give a shout out, a core value shout out every week to an individual who did a great job, and the team needs to know. These weekly huddles are crucial. Every week, start with them.
Wow, Gino, that's a good point, because it's not set these goals and forget these goals. It's having accountability and check-ins, right? Realizing that things may not always go to plan and pivoting, or you're creating success and then coming to the team with, hey, here's a struggle or challenge I have. And someone may have an outside the box idea that's able to get you around that stuck or challenge, and maybe able to help you with that. And then two, those regular meetings are accountability, because sometimes it's very easy to go back to the day-to-day grind and not view the big picture again. And then all of a sudden 13 weeks pass in the whole quarter and you're like, holy crap, what happened? I didn't move the needle on somebody. So that accountability and regular check-ins built in with the team are quite key to success. So that's a huge golden nugget.
Love that. The third one, everybody, daily huddles. Now you may be saying to yourself, how do I do this all at one time? This is why you set a quarterly priority. Your quarterly priority may be, hey, let me just start a weekly huddle, or hey, let me just start a daily huddle next quarter. These daily huddles, I'm going to tell you, when I first started them, I'm like, I don't want to do this. It's 8:45 every morning. It's a grind. I need to do it. I hate this. I don't want to do it. And I feel you out there. It's normal to feel that way. But I will challenge you. We get it. We get in the morning. I get on my team with the Jake and Gino team. I actually enjoy these calls. It's a great way to start my day. I know what Josh is doing that day. I know what Josh did yesterday. Josh knows what I did yesterday. We share daily wins. We are all working towards our quarterly priorities, and we all are holding each other accountable on these daily huddles. They don't need to be long. 15 minutes, that's all you need. Depending on the size of your team, there's 7 of us on that call in the morning. 15 minutes is all we need to get ourselves working through the day. And if you want to take it up another notch, during the pandemic, we actually did end of day huddles for a couple of months because our team, especially the property management team, they were stressed out. Their job had changed completely overnight. We had to put in new policies and procedures. So over communicating was the name of the game. We like to do end of days every now and again with our team members just to see what they accomplished during the day, what touch points they had, what problems they were struggling with. So in the daily huddle the next day, we can can discuss it. So number 3, daily huddle to me has transformed how I communicate with my team and know what wins they're having and what struggles they're coming up against.
Gino, this reminds me of the African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And having that unity and cohesiveness and making sure everybody's on the same page is really, really, really important, especially now more than ever with people working remote. And you may have properties or team members that are remote, right? Whether it's a VA or someone else in another state that you're not seeing all the time. And that communication creates that community within your team. And that's super important as well.
Josh, that brought up another point. The next meeting, 4th, is what we call, this is taken from Traction, the L10 meetings, our level 10 meetings. Every week, I have an L10 meeting with our entire staff, whether it's the sales team, whether it's the executive assistant, whether it's the operations manager, whether it's the student success specialist, whatever you have in your team, we have them with our property managers. So with our property managers, they have L10s on each property. You need to meet every week with that team member, and you'll have your priorities listed out. You'll have your yearly goals on that level 10 document that we use. You'll have your quarterly priorities. Then you'll have your weekly tasks, and any ideas that you may have that are not coinciding with the quarterly priorities, you feel overwhelmed, we call it the parking lot. So put all those ideas in that parking lot, because you're going to have a lot of ideas. Because when you're engaged in daily communications with the team, you're going to be like, wow, I want to do this, I want to do that. But as a team leader, you're supposed to say, you know what, that's not part of our priorities. Let's put them in the parking lot. I'll give you an example. Last year, first quarter, COVID hits, we had our priorities set up. You need to actually be able to pivot. We didn't have virtual training as a quarterly priority. It was always there in the parking lot. What we ended up doing as a team, we discussed, we need to do this now. So from the parking lot, it went into the quarterly priority, and one of the quarterly priorities slid back down in the parking lot. So it's very important that you need to be flexible, but at the same time, be realistic and try to work on those quarterly priorities and not deviate. And that's what those level 10 meetings are. Another 30-minute meeting, impactful meeting. You're going in, you're going to be discussing your priorities. You're going to be discussing the tasks that you need to do weekly and any stuck points or any challenges that you're having throughout the week.
Gino, I think you said a key word there, inflexible, right? You don't want to, it's almost like a bell curve. On the one side, you have chasing any shiny object that comes across your desk. On the other side, you have being rigid and unwilling to bend at all. And that middle ground is usually where success lies. And you want to be able to bend when needed and know when to stay strong, right? So you're not chasing every single thing that comes across your desk. If you go too wide and you don't have the depth, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, right? Quite plain and simple.
Mm-hmm. And Jake, Josh, the last thing, talk about the cadence of accountability. We talk about core values, and this is something that we learned through our coaching. We spent thousands and thousands of dollars, and I always say the word spend when I should be saying investing, because I wouldn't been able to be teaching you all this. We wouldn't have been able to exhibit this growth that we've had over the last 24 to 36 months if we'd not been investing in our education and being able to scale all these different entities. And really, when you're discussing scaling, whether you're discussing scaling a property management company, a syndication company, it's the same thing. So for us, our core values. Now, everyone listening here, do you have core values? And if you do you have them written down? And if you do you exhibit them throughout the organization? This is not a marketing plan here where you have core values. Core values need to live throughout your organization. Our core values: people first, unwavering ethics, extreme ownership, growth mindset, and make it happen. As you can see on Josh's wrist right there, he's wearing the core value. You need to exhibit those. You need to have core values. The biggest mistake that I made when I owned my restaurant, and the reason why I had one restaurant, is because I didn't have core values fully fleshed out. I wasn't hiring core values. I wasn't firing my employees for not exhibiting core values. I wasn't working with vendors because I didn't have the core values properly. Flush out what your core values are, and more importantly, what your mission statement is for your company. We all have different core values and different mission statements. Hire and fire and live your company through those core values, Josh.
Yeah, I love that. And core values are much better than rules. Rules are rigid, they're inflexible. Core values are things that you hold to be important to you that, like Gino said, you hire and fire on, and they're really an operating system or guiding principles for decision making. And when you have that and when you live that and you exude that, that's when you create a culture that creates success and is in it for the right reasons.
I'll give you a couple of examples of core values. At all of these events, the manager this past weekend, our entire team was out there. They're working on the weekend because they know that the students are people first. On the Rand property management side, big shout out to Shannon, to Jen. On that last property, we're touring, we're having lunch at the pool. And who's taking plates away from the students? She used to work at Ruth's Chris, so she knows customer service, but she's out there taking plates from the students, making sure that everyone has food, making sure that everyone's comfortable, making sure that everyone gets on the bus, that we all have snacks, that we all have drinks, that we're all comfortable. And that's what core values, that's how they show. They show and they permeate throughout the entire organization. Property managers was the weekend. It was Sunday. They're out there in 90-degree heat showing our students around on properties. If that's not core values, if that's not people first, then I don't know what is. But it always starts at the top. It starts with Jake and it starts with myself. We need to exhibit those people first, and then it'll start trickling down throughout the entire organization.
Love that. It comes from the top down and the inside out. And when you, rather than being the boss barking orders, but when you're in the leader, the front lines exhibiting them, people want to follow a good leader. They don't want a boss.
Josh, we're going to take a quick time out right now to hear from our sponsors. And when we get back, I want to go through some of those property management questions and how to vet a property management company. Okay.
Gino, I know a lot of our listeners are wanting to take their multifamily investing business to the next level. I know that you've been hard at work helping Jake and Gino students do just that using our framework. Can you explain to the listeners how they can get our help?
Guys, we've been hard at work growing our community of like-minded investors, and the results of our members has been nothing short of incredible. We're looking to grow this amazing group. What we're looking for is those who want to follow our proprietary framework that we've created: buy right, manage right, and finance right. Leverage our connections, education, and mentorship as ways to take your business to the next level.
So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become a part of our amazing community, apply to work with us at jakeandgino.com/apply. All
right, Gino, let's, I'm excited to get in the meat of it. So let me hear some of these questions you should be asking to evaluate a property management company.
Well, Josh, first off, if anyone wants the doc, we have a question to ask property management companies. Just email me, gino@jakeandgino.com. I'll give you the exhaustive list. I think the first thing that you need to do is have a self-assessment. As a lot of people may say, a come to Jesus moment. What do you want to do? Do you want to property manage? You need to know what your goals are. Now, if you're working 80 hours a week, you're an attorney, you're a high-level physician, and you want to property manage, that may be a little difficult with your time constraints. With Jake and I, when we first started, we were both working. He was a W-2, I was in the restaurant, but we could manage part-time, especially when you buy your first and second deal. We had the time to do that. We wanted to do that. We had the skill set to do that. We enjoyed the customer service aspect of it. I think the first thing you need to do is a self-assessment of what you want. I think the second thing is, what do you want to accomplish with your real estate portfolio? Do you want to become a syndicator and have thousands and thousands of units? Well, that may be difficult if you want to create a property management company, right? The property management company may slow you down because you have to start growing that company out. You have to start hiring employees. For Jake and myself, we started out from the very day property managing, and we grew. We may have had a larger portfolio, but for us, we have different metrics. We want to have cash flow, and we want to really maximize the price, the value, the revenue per unit on each one of our deals. So we're looking to put on between 500 units and 1,000 units a year. We're happy with that. If that's what your goal is and you don't want that extraordinary growth, maybe the property management route may be the one for you. I think the next one, really, what are you trying to achieve? Jake, in the beginning, when he wanted to get into property management, he was looking at those fees to get out of his W-2 job. If you could use those fees to get out of the W-2, start the property management company. Then you may pivot and get third-party property management as you continue to grow. That's really important. The next one, if you're young and you're trying to get into deals, and that may be a way for you to get into deals, get equity into deals, and start running deals, then you may consider yourself, hey, I may want to start a property management company because I can get deal flow. I can start adding value to other people. And that's the key, adding value to others. Great way to start that property management. And, it really comes down to a self-assessment. What do you want to get out of life? You may start with regular property management, learn the business. That's what we thought we were going to do, Josh. We thought we were going to learn the business and then hand it over. rip off and duplicate, as Josh likes to say. Get the systems that a company has, learn them, and then duplicate them. But Jake decided he really enjoyed managing properties. He really enjoyed the people aspect of it. You always often hear him say he wants to be the Chick-fil-A of apartments. With somebody saying that means they truly enjoy their job, their business, their mission that they have. And that was that was ingrained in him, that property management from day one. He truly enjoyed it. So, what I'm trying to say to all of you out there is, before you go out and decide property management or third party, really assess what your goals are.
Man, Gino, I love that. That's super value. And I think, like you said, it starts from seeking within and making sure that you want to take that path, because there's a lot of things that sound good. And then when it comes to the execution, you get worn out or burn out because you're not living your true purpose, or the path is one you're not willing to walk to get to those goals. So I think even looking further than that, why you're doing this. Multifamily at the end of the day is just a vehicle to achieve your goals. And for me, it's things like being the kindergarten room dad, coaching Little League when I have a family and traveling the world with them. And this is just the vehicle to allow me to do that. It's not the money I desire. Money is just a tool. And when you start looking at it like that, it really shifts a lot of things around.
It's a great point, Josh. There's like I said, it's an exhaustive list. I'm going to focus on a few. The obvious questions you're going to find on the list. How long you've been doing it? How many properties do you manage? Do you do multifamily? To me, these questions that I've selected here are crucial. You want to ask the property management company, what are your policies and procedures? It's important. What systems do you have? If you've got a property management company that's still using paper, that doesn't have property management software, and Josh is laughing there, but he knows. I just bought a property 3 months ago down here in St. Augustine, and the property manager actually drove leases to my agent, my real estate agent, got in the car and drove hard copy leases to my real estate agent. Now, if you have a property management company that doesn't have the ability to actually send them by email or scan them and send them, I think that's the wrong property management company. So what are the policies and procedures that they have in place? More importantly, procedures as far as what does it cost to turn a unit? Do you have a move in and move out procedure? Do you have an eviction procedure? All of these procedures that they have and these policies that they have, what are they? Let me see them. More importantly, what are the KPIs that your property management company tracks? Do they track income, obviously? Do they track expenses? Do they track delinquencies? Do they track vacant rented, vacant unrented? What do those documents look like from the property management company? You want to see all of their different policies and procedures, because unfortunately, everyone on this call, the first question is, how much do you charge? That's pretty irrelevant, because you're looking just at the cost. You need to look at what the value the company is providing for you. So if one company is charging X, the other company is charging you Y, what are their services? Most importantly to me is, how responsive is the property management company, and are they willing to have a cadence of accountability with me? Are they willing to get on a weekly call with me, a weekly L10, and discuss, well, why are the delinquencies this week at 3,000 when they really should be 1,000? You want a company that's proactive. That's what you want, a company. And one of the things that came out of the boot camp that really surprised me was a lot of the students are intimidated from property management companies, and they feel like as if they're working for them. Remember, the property management company is working for you. You drive the ship. And if you don't know what questions to ask, how to ask them, and what expectations you need to set, it's going to be a hard ship to drive. So that's what we're really discussing at the Manage Right. How you hold them accountable, how you work with them, and how they are supposed to provide value to you. You are the consumer in this, Josh.
Gino, what I'm hearing is the 5 Ps. Proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. And it's really an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? Just like a bad hire in a business, hiring a bad vendor a lot of times causes more harm than good. And then you got to find a new one and you're taking a step backwards. So this is why on the front end, doing this proper preparation and setting things up and screening and vetting and trusting but verify is really one of the keys to set you up for success.
And Josh, I want you to block my objection when you hear people say, yeah, but I've only got a duplex. I've only got 6 units. I don't really manage right. I don't really need the education. What do you say to them?
That's a good question. And I think in my mind, this is really good, because Sure, you're right. You may not need it. And honestly, no one needs it. But here's the question: are you better off with it? And when I look at things like this, education is the only investment you can make that lowers your downside risk and maximizes your upside potential. So let's really break that down. That's a pretty complicated thought. And let's say I go to the roulette table and I'm betting an even money bet, right? Red or black, even or odd, first 18, second 18. And I have like a 48% chance of winning, but I'll double my money. Now, if I increase that and I go to, let's say I bet a number, right? I have a 1 in 38 odds of winning if it's a roulette with a 0 and a double 0, but my payout is 36x. So my risk is increased, but so is my upside. So it's like, again, education is the only investment you can make that lowers the downside risk and maximizes the upside. Now, another really good way that I look at this, and honestly, how I've been able to justify a lot of it, is the one resource that we all have the same of is time, right? It's the great equalizer. Bill Gates has the same 24 hours that I do, that Gino does, and everything like that. And it's the resource you can't get any more of. So yes, you may not need it, and you may be able to create success on your own. But if you could hit those goals a year or 2 years sooner, it's what do you value that time at? And to me, it's priceless because I know there's infinite money in the world, right? You look at guys that have, hundreds of billions of dollars, over $100 billion. And that's infinite money to me. It's hard to spend all that.
Microsoft just crossed $2 trillion in market cap. Let that sink in, everybody. 25% of all the money that's printed this last year has been printed in 1 year. 25% of all the money in circulation in the U.S. economy has been printed in the last year. So if you think there's no money out there, there's an excess of money. What is lacking is thought and skills and value. That's what's lacking in this economy right now. Sorry to interrupt you, Josh.
Yeah, Gino, no, that's good. And that's spot on. And really what drives this home for me, there's a couple of thoughts that I really think. You look at someone like Steve Jobs, right? He's no longer with us, but he had all the money in the world and he ran out of time, right? Time is more valuable than money. Or take someone like Warren Buffett. He's pretty old and he has a ton of money. But if I were to say, hey, would you trade places with him, be his age, but have the amount of money he has? I bet you almost everyone would say no, because time is more valuable than money. And so when you start having that shift, and that's how entrepreneurs think, they'll trade their money for time, is when you can start creating success. And honestly, Gino, that was a hard one for me, right? I grew up very middle class and my parents would step over dollars to get the pennies. Why would you hire someone to cut the lawn, help clean the house and things like that? Well, if I can have more time and invest that in my business and create a higher ROI or spend it with ones that I love, then there is an ROI there. And really, when I started surrounding myself with people that had the results I want, I started thinking and acting like them. And then guess what? The results started following. So that's incredibly important, that concept.
So what Josh is saying, education times action equals results. You need to educate yourself. You need to surround yourself with great people. Then you need to start taking action, and you need to be held accountable with those actions. That's why I love the Jake and Gino community, Josh. Let's get back to a couple more of these documents that we talked about this weekend. We have a weekly pulse that we put out every week with our property management company. You should actually want your property management company to have this every week. And on that, we have those KPIs. We have the income, expenses. We have the vacant unrented. We have delinquencies. We have guest cards. How many people are actually visiting the property? How many people are putting applications? And how many people were actually, renting out to? You want all these different metrics in there. You want to have how many evictions you're having, how many leases were broken. We've built this out over the last 5 or 6 years because we are managing our own property. So we can teach this to our students. And this information is crucial because right now in this part of the market cycle, it's not valuation through renovation. It's valuation through operation. So all of the operators out there who can go into a property and see that the property is being run inefficiently with expenses, let's say it's $6,000 per unit, and Josh goes in there and goes, you know what, I can get these expenses down to $5,200 per unit because I know how to operate this property efficiently. These people are going to be the winners in this part of the market cycle. So a weekly pulse is crucial for us. Another document that we started to utilize is a property log. You need to have a log of every property specific to each one. You want to know the property's age. You need to know the property's, what the description of the roofs, how old the roofs are. When's the last time you power washed a property? Who are the utility providers? Who's doing the contract services as far as garbage, pest control, who's cutting the grass, all of these different metrics you want to have on a property log. And we have that for our properties, and we share all of that with the Jake and Gino students because it's important. You want to be able to document it. And I know a lot of you people out there who are listening right now are saying, once again, yes, but I only have 1 or 2 properties. Do I really need this? And the answer is abso-freaking-lutely. This is one of the biggest mistakes that Jake and I made, is because when we started to scale, we didn't have those systems implemented, and we made a lot of mistakes on the way that we could have avoided if we had started small. Always think with the end in mind. It's crucial that you think with the end in mind and implementing these systems right now to continue to grow your business. Another one that I want you to really think about. When are you going to meet? You need to meet weekly. As I said, that cadence of accountability is important, and you want those weekly documents. You want that property log updated. You want to have that weekly pulse coming out every week, and you want to be able to discuss with the property managers what's going on with the numbers. And when it's positive, let them know. But when there's something going on, you want to be proactive.
Gino, I love that. And again, it's a theme of being proactive and really being able to test and measure things, right? Like we talked about in our own business, having those rhythms. The same thing you're going to want to do with your vendors. Trust but verify, and make sure you're holding them accountable. Having those regular check-ins will let you know if things are slipping before it's too late, right? Because it's much easier to put the fire out when it's just getting started versus when it's burning half the house down. Then it's an emergency. And those people don't catch those mild symptoms until it's too late, and then they have a monster on their hands to deal with. So it's very important to be proactive.
I agree, Josh. Before we sign off, let me just review those cadence of accountabilities. Crucial. This is where you need to start. You want your quarterly priorities, number 1. You want to start doing your weekly huddles. You want to start doing your daily huddles. You want to start doing your level 10, your L10 meetings. That's where you want to start focusing your business and start working on your core values. I challenge all of you out there to start working on those core values to start building a business. Because then when you start hiring a third-party property management company, are they exhibiting the core values that you want? Our property management company has to exhibit the core value of people first. That's how you become the Chick-fil-A of apartments, is by exhibiting that people first mentality. Now, if you want to find out more information on how to become Jake and Gino student or how to attend one of our boot camps, just go to jakeandgino.com/apply. Apply to work with a team, schedule a call. You get on a call with Josh, and you'll find out how to become part of the Jake and Gino community.
And guys, something I want to dive into really quick is we have quite a few upcoming events for the rest of the year. And I really, truly believe that these are one of the biggest keys to creating success and compressing that timeline. So August 14th and 15th, we have a buy right boot camp in Jacksonville. September 25th, we have a money mixer in Omaha, Nebraska. October 23rd and 24th, we have Multifamily Mastery 4 in Orlando. And then finishing up the year strong, November 13th and 14th, we have a Finance Right boot camp in Nashville. And as a community member, you're able to attend all of them. I'd love to have a conversation, see if we're a good fit. And here's the thing, guys, this isn't a hard sales process. Here's the goal, is to make sure that it is truly a good fit working together. And if not, we have a ton of free resources we'd be more than happy to share. And my promise is we'll leave you in a much better position than we found you.
Josh, that's a lot of events. I'm going to be seeing a lot of weekends. Buy Right Boot Camp, Money Mixers is where we network. You have over 150 students out there on 3 buses last time, networking, looking at our properties. It's a lot of fun. My family, for the most part, on all the events, with the exception of the Money Mixer coming up, they're going to be at all the events. MM4 is going to be an amazing event. We're going to have over 600 multifamily investors October 23rd and 24th at the Gaylord Palms. And like Josh said, rounding it out, that Finance Right boot camp, we always talk about the buy right, the manage right. Well, the Finance Right is coming up in November. It's going to be an amazing event. I love these events. Like I said, I get out there, I get to meet all the students. For me, it's energizing. And for me, it's education. Again, I'm learning from the coaches. I'm learning from, all the presenters that I'm there. I'm learning from the students. I'm learning so many different techniques and different strategies of what's going on in the market. So I challenge you, go to jakeandgino.com/apply, schedule a call with one of our team members.
Boom. Thanks, Gino. I think there's a lot of value in here. And honestly, this is, business building knowledge in general. And those that truly take this to heart, and a lot of the mindset as well, is really going to help them create success and help scale with less heartache and less bumps along that road.
Josh, thank you. Have a great day. And everyone, let's go out there and let's make it happen.
Take care.